This is ABTV, Animal Bites Television.
This is the eastern brown snake, one of the most deadly snakes in Australia. And a lot of people think that this animal is very aggressive, but the truth is, it's just a very defensive snake. As you can see, if I come up on it like this, it's gonna rear up and it's gonna come at me. But as soon as I walk away from it, it doesn't want to have anything to do with me whatsoever. Now these guys definitely have pretty big propensity to want to bite, but again, it's a defensive bite. And the reason why they're so deadly is not just the fact that they're always willing to take a little bit of a run at you, but also the fact that there's a huge wide range of these animals all the way through Australia. So where there's a lot of people and a lot of snakes, especially with a pretty potent venom, definitely have a chance to get bit. But as you can see, these guys really don't want to have anything to do with people. They'd rather just be left alone. Whew. Now that is one impressive snake, and today is all about deadly animals.
My name is Brian Barczyk. I'm no zoologist, just a guy with a passion for animals. And that passion often takes me on animal adventures around the world.
This week I'm in Ipswich, Queensland, Australia, playing with some deadly snakes. You're watching Snake Bites. Today we're really looking at some of the most venomous and potentially deadly snakes on the planet. But I really want to talk about the fact that these snakes aren't necessarily deadly from the standpoint that they're not aggressive and they don't want to kill people. They just have an extremely advanced saliva that makes a bite from these guys unbelievably bad. And the animal I'm holding right now is definitely known as the worst land venomous animal on the planet when it comes to venom. This, of course, is the inland taipan, or fear snake. Taipans are really something else, but fortunately, inlands are typically a little bit more docile than their cousins, the coastal taipans. But these guys pack more punch, ounce for ounce, of venom than any other land snake on the entire planet. And what's interesting about the fear snake is the fact that right now it's wintertime in Australia, and you can see how dark it is. Some of these guys can almost look black in the wintertime, and then in the summer, they lighten up to a beautiful yellow tan color. Taipans have always been known as one of the most dangerous snakes to get bit by, but as you can see, when it comes to inland taipans in particular, this animal is much more shy than it is aggressive. It's not rearing up like the eastern brown snake did on me, and it really just wants to be left alone. And with almost any venomous snake, that's really the rule of thumb. So if you ever come across these guys in the wild, just give them a nice big long berth and they'll stay away from you. They don't want you to mess with them any more than you want to mess with them either. Wow, these things are absolutely gorgeous. And what's really cool is when taipan babies hatch and their egg layers, they're just absolutely gorgeous. One of the prettiest elapid snakes out there. Just take a look at that animal right there. I tell you, there's just something in just that adrenaline gets pumping when you're this close to a snake that you can know. And take a look at this. This is interesting with taipans. See how it's going backwards right now? You don't see that from many snakes, and certainly not from many elapids, but it will literally back up. And when you're handling it, it poses a little bit of challenge because you're used to the snake going forward, and this guy wants to go the opposite way. And of course, I would do anything I can do to stay outside the pokey end of this animal, because a bite from this guy is gonna ruin my day for sure. Take a look at that. Now that is one absolutely amazingly beautiful snake. Oh, take a look at this chunky monkey here. Now this happens to be what I think is the prettiest of all of the Australian elapids. This, of course, is the colette snake. And just take a look at those red bars on this animal. When these guys are babies, they're even brighter than this, just with extreme red and black bars. These guys are from the same area as the inland taipans, which is basically the central Queensland area, the black soil plains. Now, they're a pretty shy animal, and I'm told that you'll probably never, ever see these animals if you're out road hunting for snakes here in Australia. The only way you can really catch these guys in the wild is that because they have such beautiful color and such iridescence, that in the sunlight from way far away, you'll sometimes see a glistening light, and you just got to kind of run after them and hope that it hasn't disappeared down into the soil cracks, which is basically where they're going to hide all the time. Now, the colette snake is by far not the most deadly animal here in Australia, but it's still in the top 20 most deadly land snakes in the planet. So you still don't want to get bit by something like this, that's for sure. And these guys, much like the taipans, are egg layers. But I can tell you, it's just amazing how much thicker and kind of heavier bodied animal these guys are than, say, something like the taipan or even the eastern brown snake. And just look at those jaws on this guy and that thick neck. I've got to imagine if this one put a bite on you, it would hang on pretty hard and probably chew you pretty good. Now, if you're noticing on all of these elapids that I'm handling here, I'm doing two things. Number one, I'm using the hook to kind of control them a little bit, but more importantly, I'm using what's called a tailing method, which just basically means that probably an inch or two up from the vent in the back, you want to get your hand on that tail. Now you can control the spine that way, so that way if they're picking up and coming at you like this, I can just spin it down and it'll drop right back down. By far the most effective way to handle elapid snakes. Whew, the colette snake. Gosh, look at the belly on that thing. That is one gorgeous animal, isn't it? It's hard to believe something so beautiful can be so dangerous. So I'm here with Chris Smith. He helps out with the K-Brother Pythons videos, and he's an amazing elapid handler. As a matter of fact, when I'm over here in Australia dealing with deadly snakes, Chris is the guy that's keeping me alive, to be honest. And all the cool snakes you're seeing in this week's episode are privately owned by Chris, so it's pretty cool. But the one he's got in this bucket right now is the snake that probably is the most mental of all. So Chris, tell me a little bit about what we're about to see.
Well, what we've got here is the coastal taipan. These guys are rated, I think it's number 3 in the world. But hands down, I don't know anyone who would not say that they're the most dangerous snake in the world.
Yes.
They have potential to go over your head when you're handling them.
Yeah.
Tailing technique and hook placement is what you want.
Yeah, and he's an expert at this. Like I said, I'm an in-training guy here, but he knows what he's doing. I tell you, some of the stuff that I'm seeing, I'm starting to get nervous even standing next to him. So we're gonna have a go at it once you get it kind of calmed down a little bit. But let's just see the animal and let's see what we got going on. Again, guys, coastal taipans, obviously related to the inland taipan, but this is their cousins that are obviously here from the east side of Queensland. And again, much more difficult to handle for sure. You can just take a look at that guy just twitching already. Whew. Look at him. All right, I'm gonna get this thing out of here. Get everything away. And look at how large the coastal taipans are. And again, Chris, tell me a little bit. I mean, this is an animal that, you know, like you said, you want the tail, you know, tail placement's important, and then hook. Tell me exactly what you're trying to do here.
What I'm trying to do here is you keep at least a quarter of the body on the ground at all times. As you said before, they will back up, all taipans in general, they back up on you. So what you want to do is keep the majority of the snake on the ground, make it feel comfortable, because you don't want it uncomfortable, because you know about it. And see it's doing the backing up thing here. When it gets too annoyed with this, it'll flip out and have a fair crack at me. This is no tame snake, this is no joke. Hook placement, you always want the down a third of the, from the face, basically keep that body end away.
Yeah, the biggest.
Not real happy.
Yeah, you can definitely see how quick they move. And again, the thing with these coastals is that legitimately right now, that animal could go from here to over Chris's head like that. I mean, like legitimately fly back on him that much. That's why these guys are absolutely no joke. You know, Easterns are rough, you know, inlands are obviously very venomous, but coastals, I'd say the only animal that gives this a run for its money would be the black mamba. And man, I tell you, these are large. Now, coastals are much larger than inlands too, right?
It's debatable they're the largest elapid in Australia.
Really?
The mulga snake rivals them on length and girth. But these guys, I've seen them get up to 9 foot long, which is an impressive elapid.
Yeah, just think about that, 9 foot, whippy, fast, and full of the third most
deadly venom on the planet. That's a recipe that you definitely don't want to come across. But again, with all snakes, if you did ever come across a coastal, which is relatively rare, just leave it alone. Don't try to do what Chris is doing. But that being said, I'm going to ask Chris if I can take the helm here a little bit and give a crack at this animal because it's absolutely gorgeous. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let me give it a go. You can see as soon as I touch it, it's like turning a little bit. And again, what I'm going to do is the same thing that Chris did. Just let it on the ground a little bit, let it calm down, keep that hook in a place where if it does fly back, I'm going to try my best to make sure I'm controlling that head. And hey, one rule of thumb when you're dealing with the lapids, especially when you're handling them, if you ever get into a position where you're not sure it's going to go well, drop the snake. You can always pick that snake up again. You don't want to give any shot at the fact of this thing hitting you. And again, you can kind of see even this relatively nasty mannered coastal taipan is pretty much being a pretty gentleman right now. But the thing about coastals that I've been told time and time again is that they can go from this kind of placid manner where they're just kind of hanging out to just being completely mental in just a second. So as you can see, I'm really trying not to take my hand and eyes off this animal whatsoever. I don't trust those coastal taipans. And I tell you, although it's an amazing experience to get an opportunity to hold something so awesome as this, I don't want to come out of here with a coastal taipan bite. I can tell you that much because there's no badges of honor for getting bitten by something like this. I'm going to take every precaution I possibly can. And you can kind of see he's just chilling out. He wants to kind of find a place where he's nice and mellow and kind of feeling comfortable, but just take a look at how crazy that head looks too. I mean, it's so big and it's obviously a different color than the rest of its body. And like Chris said, this is a big snake. I mean, I tell you what, I've handled some big king cobras before, and they're certainly the monsters of the venomous world, but when it comes to an elapid, especially a whippy one like this, that's a long snake, which means that it has a tremendous length to come back on you on it. I don't want to be involved in that whatsoever. So there you have it, guys. The snake that is probably known as the most scary snake in the world to handle, certainly in my opinion anyways, the coastal taipan. Now that's awesome. This guy is awesome. This happens to be the king brown snake, or the mulga. And in actuality, even though it's called a king brown, this guy is actually a black snake. So it's not in the brown snake family. But mulgas are certainly known as one of the biggest venomous snakes in Australia, probably only rivaled at the length of the coastal taipan, but certainly a much heavier bodied animal. And this guy here is absolutely gorgeous on top of it because really fits the bill perfectly when it's called a king brown, because that is a beautiful chocolatey brown colored snake. Whew, can't believe it. Now these guys can range quite a bit in their coloration, almost from like a grayish color to almost a dark charcoal color. So this brown snake, or king brown snake I should say, because again it's a black snake, is about the most chocolatey you're gonna possibly get. And of course the mulgas are usually pretty apt to want to come back on you. Nothing like the taipans though. You see this guy's getting a little bit agitated, but these guys are definitely a lot more quiet than say the easterns or taipans. But just take a look at how thick, take a look at this. Take a look at that chunky head right there. That's the thing about the mulga, is the fact that they have amazingly strong jaws. And the other thing about these guys is although they're only maybe 15th, 16th most deadly on the planet, as far as venom, they have some nasty, dirty venom on top of it. Many of the lapids in Australia are neurotoxic. And although this guy does have neurotoxin in him, he has something that's called myotoxin, which means it's gonna hurt like hell if you get bit. I'm not kidding you. You know, basically with neurotoxin, the bite's not that painful. As a matter of fact, not painful at all. With Western browns, for instance, sometimes you don't even know you've been bit. And then all of a sudden you collapse or you have respiratory failure. That's what neurotoxin does. But myotoxin, that stuff is just dirty and it's gonna hurt. I've been told it feels like a hot poker is just jamming into your bite for hours and hours. The king brown snake is one impressive animal and one that I prefer to not get bit by. So I just showed you the king brown, which is actually a black snake. Chris, you've got kind of the best example of a black snake I want to take a look at right now, which is, of course, is the red-bellied black. Now these things are gorgeous. Take a look at that. And of course, we're in Chris's reptile room here, so this is where the snakes all live. And like I said, it's pretty cool to be in here surrounded by all this stuff. And you can kind of see, again, it's obviously a pretty dark black snake. And they have the red in the belly, hence red-bellied black snake. Now these guys are interesting because they're live bears, right?
They are, they're live bears. They have around 20,
20,
up
baby.
to 20.
No
But
kidding.
an average clutch is 10 to 15 for these guys.
And that's something. Now, these guys, as you can see, are much more quiet. And Chris is just, the biggest thing, Chris, tell me, what do you think the biggest thing about handling a lapis is? Because I think you just showed me, but I want you to explain it.
The main thing is to be calm with them.
Exactly.
You want the snake to hold you, and you don't hold the snake type thing. Unless you have to, of course.
Exactly. And you saw how, even when the snake is getting close, he's well within the range of not being able to bite. Chris understands the animals well, never panics. The one thing you never want to do with a venomous snake is panic. If you're handling it nervous, you're probably going to get bit. But at the same time, Chris, you don't want to be too calm, right?
You don't want to get complacent. No.
Right.
So as you can see here, you might be able to see, I have the snake's body tensioned with my hook. The hand placement is keeping the head away. It was keeping the head away. So there, it can't get any. The only way this snake can get anywhere near me is if it grows another foot longer.
Exactly, which I don't think that's going to happen immediately. But you can see exactly, I mean, it may be this close to his hand, but there's nowhere for the snake to go. It's not coiled up, it's not able to spring, it's pretty much in one place. And that just comes from experience, but again, the calmness of understanding how to work with animals. But again, just like Chris said, you don't want to become complacent. The time you don't have respect for an animal like this, no matter how venomous it is when you're going to get bit. So you always keep respect, but at the same time, you never, ever want to fear an animal. So tell me a little bit, Chris, about where these guys are, the red-bellied blacks are from.
They basically run from all the way from down in Victoria, even, all the way up to Cairns, even, as far north as that, I'm told, anyway. So they're an East Coast snake. They do go fairly inland as well. You can find them 4 or 5 hours inland from Brisbane.
Oh, wow.
Regularly.
And now these guys typically like the more swampy or wet areas as opposed to some of the arid, stuff.
Yeah, definitely. You find them along creeks and swamps, a lot of swamps, obviously. They're big frog eaters, they're snake eaters as well. They're pretty opportunistic. They'll eat anything, basically.
And that's something that's kind of cool, I think, about some of the elapids. Obviously king browns, one of their favorite things is to eat western brown snakes, the true brown snakes. So some of these elapids, not only are awesome, but they also are snake eaters, which makes them kind of interesting as well. Although I guess I don't want to see any snakes get eaten, but it's just still pretty cool. Now, these guys aren't highly venomous, but they're still going to ruin your day. You're going to ruin your day, yeah. So is it just neurotoxic with these guys, or they have anything else going on?
Well, I believe they've got a bit of mytoxin as well.
Exactly.
I'm told.
Right, because I know people have lost fingers, right, from red-bellied blacks.
They rot your skin away, is what I'm told. It's a very painful bite. The bite site goes black, I'm told.
Right.
And yeah, you don't want to get bitten by it.
No, don't want to get bit by it. Well, let's put this guy away. I'm spotting an animal that you guys are going to absolutely love here. I'll let you calmly put that away. And one of my favorite elapids from Australia certainly is what Chris is going to pull out next. And that, of course, is the tiger snake. And these guys are just the pattern alone on that animal is unbelievable. And quite frankly, they're usually not too cranky, which is nice as well. Certainly a handleable animal, but again, you can kind of see that chunky, again, much like the mulga, in the sense that they got that really fat body, that really, defined huge jaws on its head, and of course the tiger snake is tiger snake because it's banded, which is pretty cool. So, the range, I know these guys go all the way out to WA. How far east do these guys go?
These guys are found in, far north as they go is Beerwell, which is in Queensland.
Queensland.
And also in Leamington National Park down on the Gold Coast they're found pretty regularly as well. So
they're pretty. The range is much across a lot of Australia then.
Yeah, definitely. They're more of a cooler climate species. They don't handle our heat very well. So, in captivity we don't heat them very much.
Right.
Yeah.
they're,
Yeah, and even in the winter, you'll find these guys out cruising around every now and then on a nice warm day. And again, just like much like the red-bellied blacks, these guys are live bearers, right?
They're live bearers, yeah.
It's so cool. Could you imagine just opening up a cage and having about 15 or 20 little little tigers or red-bellied black snakes? And as you can see, tigers, I think, are more typically known for being quieter animals, not so aggressive like the taipans or eastern brown snakes. And again, nothing to be, you know, complacent about by any stretch. This animal could put a really bad hurting on you, because if I'm not mistaken, this is in the top 5, right?
Yeah.
That snake is in the top 5 highly venomous snakes on the planet. So Chris, I tell you what, this has been awesome, and you can always catch more stuff with Chris and Troy in Denver over on K Brothers Pythons, great YouTube channel that they have all kinds of cool stuff, and Chris is their expert, a lapid guy, understandably. Has a pretty good beard too, you know, something that I can't grow. This is about 2 weeks of beard here. So, so Chris, thanks for having us. And as always, I was Facebooking and tweeting my way through it. So make sure to follow me over on SnakeBytesTV and on Instagram at SnakeBytes.tv. Until next week, this has just been awesome. And you've been watching Snake Bites.
Welcome to the Conservation Files. My name is Ben Desson, and for as long as I can remember, I've been incredibly passionate about wildlife and the environment. In this series, I'm going to showcase some amazing wildlife.
This is ABTV.